Do you know what is stereotyping? Do you know stereotyping is a cultural bias? Let's move on the interview first.
你覺得男神或者女神有啲咩特徵啊？
靚仔，
靓女，
有一种就是一眼看过去就会眼睛放光的感觉。
長期都比較正面啦諗嘢。
咁問下你哋覺得男神或者女神有啲咩特質係要？
勤奮、陽光、善良。
你要喺呢度覺得邊個最靚啊？會
4號，
最後一個吧。
我揀女朋友咁，我應該都會揀翻 Asian 4咯。
笑容，
笑容
第2個啊，
點解？
身材好好，有2嚿肉喺度，就比較豐滿少少，幾好睇啊！我覺得佢。
我會揀2咯，因為其餘嗰3個都係做出嚟咯。
你會覺得邊個比較吸引你，同埋點解啊？
第一個
3個，啲衫整齊啲啊嘛。
想
問你一個問題啊，你覺得呢4張圖
咩啊？
最靚？
相鏡啊？
係啊，
啱啱相鏡啊！咩啊？你問咩啊？
你覺得邊個最靚仔啊？邊個最？
應該第3個啊！第3個
點解嘅？
個樣差唔多，你覺得咩？係咪？係嘛？
第4
個係
佢好堅定嘅眼神。
你覺得同性戀啲人有啲咩特徵啊？
應該行路會比較開啲啊。
可能會更注意自己的外貌，gay 會稍微比較刻薄一點。
斯文。
女仔有啲好型咯。
我聽講咧就係鏟光個頭鏟到好齊，着啲好緊身嘅衫。
係咩？
男同性戀的話，我覺得可能會打耳釘吧，然後可能打在左邊，他們心思會比較細膩一些，然後的話可能會比女生還要細膩。
我諗同性戀係佢自己嘅一種取向，就唔關話個人嘅外表特徵。
In 1922, journalist Walter Lippmann introduced the concept of stereotyping as a selection process that used to organize and simplify perception of others. In other words, stereotyping is a form of generalization about a group of people. There are some categories of stereotyped group, like race, religion, occupation, social class, and gender. Gender is used to designate the social and cultural aspect of maleness and femaleness, like masculinity and femininity. Masculinity and femininity are cultural definitions that exist in the basis of the biological difference, like male are believed to be masculine and female are expected to be feminine. In addition, some external gender markers which can differentiate cultural men and cultural women, such as name, clothing, hairstyles, body decoration, verbal and nonverbal communication. More importantly, gender is about the traits that a culture assigns to and develops in males and females, like active or passive, or strong or weak. Then each part compares, which is called a boundary opposition. Sometimes the male category is held to be privileged to the female, like masculine traits are superior but feminine traits are inferior. In 1979, Theodora and Max published Dialectic of Enlightenment. They have been studied about mass media and its impact since they observed Hitler's use of mass organization as a brainwashing tool. They thought that mass media is a cultural industry, and mass culture is the products formed by the industry but not by people. Therefore, people are receiving all the message and values of the established system. With the media containing so many images of women and men, and message about men, women, and sexuality today, it is highly unlikely that these ideas would have no impacts on our own sense of identity, as gender is one of the axes of self-identity. Unlike the traditional society, that the one's identity and roles are more or less fixed or being assigned by traditional culture. Modern society, especially the Western society, emphasizes on people's own choice of identity. At the same time, most of the people have the tendency of avoiding great change or being distinctive. As a result, the image of women and men on media, including TV shows, magazines, or advertising, which the images are popular at being regarded as a norm, have become an ideal for people to follow. The way that media present gender roles could be influential to one's perspective to it and especially deepen the stereotype of gender issue. Gender stereotypes in the media were superior in the past, and you can find it everywhere easily. For example, when you are watching a movie, you will find that most of the female would be like this: slim, fashionable, emotional, and most of the male would be like cool, masculine, and with toned body shape. Except for the physical appearance, the media will also instill the concept to the audience like as you see, it is one of the typical ideas that female can only do housework, while the male can learn science. But the issue has been improved a little in the past 15 years. The image of male and female on the screen can become, which is very different from the past. So, what exactly are the limitations of gender stereotype in the media? Is there only limited to women? Any limitation on men? The answer is that there are limits for both men and women. Take a look at a set of photos. What do you think of these advertisements? Sometimes women promote shower gels or shampoos. You will also find that the image of women in the media is generally portrayed as young, slim, and beauty. Some even present with slender long legs, prominent breasts or thighs, or sometimes show naked, even when the products being advertised have no connection with the human body or with hygiene. How about men? Men and boys are also victims of stereotyping. Take the picture you just saw as an example. Men who are shown driving cars and sporty. Masculinity is often associated with machismo, independency, competitiveness, emotional detachment, aggressiveness, and violence. In addition to image, the use of language can also produce gender stereotypes. For example, women should always concerned about their physical appearance, while men are encouraged to take part in sports and to take great interest in technology and war games. Is the above stereotype of men and women reasonable? Well, it can be reasonable, but not equality. With the development of society, there has been lots of criticism of gender stereotype. People are beginning to think that the image of men and women can be devised. Women are no longer just represent sex or weak, while men are not just equal to masculine. However, criticism has not brought about great result. There's been a little breakthrough, but remain unchanged in the mainstream consciousness. So, how stereotype is relevant today? You may wonder if the media has anything to do with gender at all. Consider this fact. Only 4 Disney films feature women speaking over 16% of the dialogue: Inside Out, Alice in the Wonderland, Maleficent, and Sleeping Beauty. The problem with being exposed to poor gender representation and gender stereotypes is that they are everywhere all the time. This stereotyped message in the media through television, movies, and magazines and more can over time influence you to adopt similarly narrow ideas of gender roles in the society. In 2017, Girl Guiding UK released research that showed girls as young as 7 already feel pressured to conform to the gender stereotypes that bombard them every day through social channels, TVs, and other forms of media. The figure follows research by the Advertising Standard Authority in July, which highlight that the harmful stereotypes can restrict the choice, aspiration, and opportunities of children, young people, and adults. The industry must address this issue with urgency. From photos of models with unattainable body type to women being depicted as housewives, pressuring women to conform to a certain look or roles can harm their confidence and self-esteem. To be more specific, in the international world, you may think that stereotype only exists in the adult world, yet shockingly, it also appeared in children's world. A specific example recently is clothing retailer has been heavily criticized for gender stereotyping in its children's catalogs. They have used a slogan, "Fill your pockets with flowers and start everyday adventure with a bike," for the young boys and girls clothing category. After receiving the monthly catalog in the mail, one of the current customers, who is a father with 2 children, has raised huge objection toward these 2 slogans. He then posted a tweet on the social media, claiming that his sons love to give flowers to him every day, yet afraid to ride on his own bike. The tweet has attracted lots of attention by having more than 2,000 likes and lots of response from people calling out the brand for enforcing gender stereotypes. From this example, we can see that even until now, in a century when all the people are talking about equality in gender, we can still see that some of us are still having the traditional mindset that girls should have certain image, like being elegant and cute, while boys should be strong and wild. However, this kind of concept should no longer exist, as everyone is unique and no matter boys or girls should have the right to decide what image or action is most suitable and comfortable with themselves. We cannot control one's people's mind and their appearance by using our own judgment. Otherwise, it will only enlarge the effect of gender stereotype and this problem can never be solved.